Hello, listeners, and welcome to this very special episode of the James Donald Forbes McCann Catamaran Plan, the show where I try to raise $500,000 to buy a boat. And today we have a very special guest who knows a thing or two about winning $500,000. It's Hayley Leake, winner of Australian Survivor and then return contestant on Australian Survivor, where she didn't win but did very well. I love Australian Survivor. Hayley is one of my favourite ever players, one of the best to do it. And I'm so honoured and blessed that she's decided to come on. Please enjoy this interview with Hayley, where we talk about me going on Survivor, her Survivor journey, pain management, and a whole lot of other stuff.
It's you got to be able to smooth talk it after. Like, you can do something pretty bad and then come back. Like, last time I played, in the second half of the game, I would promise black and blue 100% I'm with you, go and vote and not do it and stay with my original tribe. And they would keep, like, a good player will smooth it over and just be like, oh, I'm so sorry I didn't do that, but I absolutely intend to next time. This wasn't the right timing. So you keep the lie going. So
okay, but you didn't. George thought Nina originally had flipped.
Yep.
And you'd flipped. Did you think you were going to get away with that?
I didn't intend to do that until I got to tribal. Like, I wasn't planning to do that. And then I get to tribal and I just decide, I've already won. So I'm just there to have a good time and try to do stuff. And I don't want to do nothing, but I hadn't been able to do anything really by this point. It'd been like winning challenges, not power in an alliance. And so I decided, like, in tribal to do that. Didn't really have a sorted out plan about what to do next. Was planning to take the blame and go back and tell George, that was me, I did that, but this is why I'm still with you. Let's keep going forward. But the minute it happened and the votes came out, George was like, that was Nina. I knew that was Nina. And my brain's just like, do I let...
How soon do you take credit for it and let it spin out?
Well...
Because then you get back and Nina takes your side and you go, listen, I'm not taking the fall for that one. He thinks it's you.
This is where my game fell apart, is that I didn't put the effort in at this point. So if I'd have put the effort in with Nina, and I've checked this with her, that night to say, look, George is losing his marbles. He is going to, like, mess up. Let's let him.
Yeah.
You have to, like, you'll need to kind of let that heat come on you, but I'm not going to let you hold it for long, because the next vote we will do something. Like, and then she wouldn't have given me up that night. But she was furious. She's like, I didn't smooth it over, so I didn't play well at that point. That's where you smooth it over and you put in the work. I went to bed. I was tired. And I didn't have the motivation to, like, work hard at it. So I think that's where my game fell apart.
We gave you more credit. When we were watching it, Kay, my wife, said, Hayley has watched enough Survivor, and she goes, there must have been a time where once someone lied about who they voted for a tribal council and made it. You can do it?
Oh, you can lie about who you voted for. They like...
And got away with it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, you can lie about who you voted for and get away with it. Yes. Yeah, and
I've never seen it in Australian Survivor.
Yeah, it was so close to working. It worked for like 6 hours and then it fell apart.
It was so... But you were only there... I'm going to go back to the start of you at this season. I want to also talk about the last season. Oh, man, I'm just going to... Oh, look, I've got the notes. I'm going to start.
Give me a moment, Jimmy.
All right. You got to...
Can we just move you forward?
Maybe I should take off the hat.
This as well?
Up for one moment and I'll move this chair exactly.
The light gets to hit my hair in a nice way.
Like, that's how finicky I am.
Great.
All right.
Tell me where that goes.
Go. And the closer you are to the mic, the better.
The better.
It really doesn't matter. I've got
That's what Jimmy always tells me. He's like, you got to hold it on your mouth.
Really?
Yeah.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Yeah.
All right.
Jimmy number 2.
I think I've got your big moments in order. So if I can do it in order, that'll make it easier for me. All right. You've got a big target on your back when you arrive on the island. Everybody wants you out. This is this season. And if it strays into territory you can't talk about, I understand. You seem like you're definitely the first person to go home. Then you throw a challenge when you decide that there's enough anti-rogue energy to throw the challenge. How much of that is an edit and how much of that is like, you're like, no, 100% she's gone?
Oh, no. I see.
Like, because you're wagering there that there's enough ill will that they'll get her out of the way first and then it's broken and you're fine.
So my name did come up.
Yeah.
It always came up.
Yes.
They always had to consider, should we do this now? But I did not feel nervous throwing that challenge.
Okay.
Like, if that was on day 2, day 4, day 6, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of ill will around Rogue, and it did not feel like a big risk to do that. We were at the point where the other tribe was begging us to vote her out. And, like, they didn't even...
The other tribe was begging you to vote her out?
Yeah, there was a challenge where they had to fight against... we were, like, tackling each other, I suppose. And she was really rough with some of the women on the other tribe. And, like, Shani and Liz were telling us from the other side, like, vote her out. Like, that is how widely that sentiment had spread from her.
So you were in a more secure... Because the way you fell in that challenge... is a little performative. It was great.
Also, what's not clear in that edit as well is that the tribe was in on it. I wasn't alone in deciding to do that. So
did not know that.
Yeah, I know. So
you're playing to them in a nice way.
So I'd suggested the idea to Sean and to Ben, and they were okay on board with that idea. But you don't want to throw a challenge and be seen, like, you know, it looked like I'm dropping out and everyone's like, that's so obvious, everyone's going to know. But my whole tribe, except for Rogue, knew that we were throwing that challenge. To vote her out.
A lot of this is going to be, because in the edit, they've got to build up a suspense of, like, it might be Hayley. We were sure you were gone. I was devastated early on. But she was...
Then
I assume also the edit of her was polite in some ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. I want to move on. I don't want to... She gets very active on social media when she's upset with people, so I don't want to talk about it. But what great work she does with those animals. And that was done. All right. When Geordie comes over to your tribe and they've got the idols, they take you... Who is it? Is it Geordie and Liz? It's Geordie and Liz. And they took you and Nina aside.
Yes.
And they... are pitching it like this is a fun thing. We're going to build an alliance. And then very quickly, it's like a hostage situation.
Why did they do that?
Well, but why? How did they play it wrong? Because if they'd taken just you, I thought maybe you would have been interested. Nina, I don't think they knew that she was very close with David, who has my favourite AFL Brian Taylor calling moment. I don't know if you've ever...
All I know is his Anzac Day thing.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's pissing down
I
at the G.
watched it after. Yep.
It is... it's a delight.
He's a really nice guy.
I'm glad to know that. I'm glad. I've always suspected he was a nice guy. And such a nice guy that Nina liked him a lot.
Yeah, they're good friends.
Yeah. So there was like there's a weird energy when they are pitching that at you. Mm-hmm. So if you're pitching a thing like that, if I'm on Survivor and I'm pitching a thing like that, do you just, because there are too many personal relationships on the other tribe you don't know about, do you just peel people off one at a time? Do you, like, how could they have gotten you with that pitch? Was there any way to do it?
They could have gotten me. I would have, they were aggressive, like, in that pitch.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to know your audience. And if it's all I need is a really good plan that's going to get me forward and a commitment that there's people we can work with here. And once we get to merge, we will have a majority. Like, just give me logic and I'll work with you.
Okay.
But it was a really aggressive pitch in that they added this part where, and if you don't do it, or if we see you talking to anybody else, then we're going to screw you over and never ever work, like, with you. And it's like, well, this went from, like, a cool, fun offer to, like, blackmail pretty quick.
So is that like, if you're trying to insert yourself and make a deal with someone who's against you and that they are taking a chance, you don't want to put yourself... You want to, like, slide in underneath them, right? You want to be like, and I'm supporting you and we're moving forward together.
Well, it depends how you want to play. Like, someone like George can play quite forcefully. He blackmails people all the time and kind of works for him.
Look...
You got to win at the end, though. You got to get the vote.
He seems shell-shocked from when you made him vote for Cara. In the confessionals this week where he's like, it changed me. I'm not going to get the exact quote right, but he's saying something like, I'm a different man now. You don't know what it did to my soul to vote for her. That was one of the most... How did you get them to turn on each other at the time?
That was logic. Like, George, that was always logic. So George, Cara, me, Flick.
Yeah.
George's crutch, let's find out, this season's not over, but his crutch before has been an inability to win challenges.
Yes.
So how do you get to the end if you can't win a challenge? Someone has to take you to the end. So yeah, I think he knew at that point that if he didn't vote Cara out, then...
If it's a challenge with 3 and one of the other ones wins who's not them, you take Cara to the end.
You want to... Yes, in that situation, you would want to sit next to Cara.
Yeah.
The trouble with when we were at 4, though, was that... if he couldn't vote for Flick because she had immunity.
Yes.
And so it had to be me or Cara you don't want to vote for your friend Cara, but if you vote me out of this game,
Flick's never going to take you through. You're never going to win against Flick in the final challenge.
Flick you won't beat Flick at the final challenge because you haven't before, and Flick will take Cara.
Yeah.
She's not going to take George. He'll take Cara. So he won't get there.
But so he's in a totally different position. This is the weird thing of the 2 seasons. So he's making a logical choice there and is devastated by it, or says he's devastated by it. Who knows? He's got a lot going on. But then in this season, he's saying he's devastated by it, and he seems not to make the logical choice here. Like, you don't want 2 challenge beasts going through to the final round.
And who are you saying are the challenge beasts right now?
I'm saying Liz. It looks like it's Liz and David. And so you get a chance. No?
Liz and who?
David. No, am I getting his name wrong? Why am I saying David? Who's the other
guys
guy?
left? Matt, Jerry.
Matt.
Okay,
I don't know
good.
why
I was
I'm sorry.
So
David was in a different season of Survivor.
Yeah, we have David, yeah.
That Matt's winning a lot of challenges and Liz is winning a lot of challenges. And Jerry was good on the endurance one for the KFC, but eventually came down.
Jerry's impressive.
But then George was also good at that one.
George has been working out. George has been, since we finished the last season, he has been in a gym with a PT almost every day. He has been working out.
No, but you did 6 days. This is what I heard on another podcast. You did 6 days a week at the gym for a year this is pre-COVID?
This was kind of in the COVID around when the gyms were open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you knew your first season was coming up and you just worked out every day.
I was lucky in a little bit of a way in that we were preparing to fly to Fiji before COVID hit. So we were getting ready to go, and then COVID hit, and then maybe Survivor would never happen again. Maybe they wouldn't want me. I never knew what was going to happen, but I just knew
they were unprecedented times.
It was that word. But then I just figured there's nothing else to do, and maybe I will get on. And if I do get on, then I want to be prepped. So I just hit the gym.
I wish I'd taken that attitude during the lockdown rather than.
Well, you have time now because the next season it's a
I'm
little
working
while
on
away. And
man, all right. Well, listen. We went out and did the challenge where you hold the rope and it's 40% of your body weight on the other side of it.
Oh, did you? How? Just created it.
We went to a playground where a swing was broken, so there was a surface to go over, and then there was a shopping trolley, which was 20 kilos. So that's great. And then we filled it with bricks and wine.
Whoa, have you got footage of this? This would be great for your audition tape.
Yes, we do have the footage. And but I was like, you know what? I'll see how long I can do it first, and then I'll ask you about pain management, and then I'll go and see how much better I do.
I like it.
But also there was like a guy in the park who had to come and help us get it was much easier to stop it coming down than to send it up to begin with.
Oh,
Man,
the challenge was setting it up.
Yeah, and then he was also just there in the Jonathan LaPaglia role. Like, he was just some guy from an office standing. And it was really nice, but it was strange. And so I did phenomenally badly. Oh. And it made me really think about the biophysics of it, that being heavy is proportionate to your arms.
Not good.
Nightmarish.
So, those kinds of challenges, Survivor, it looks like it's a game where if you're like a big, strong person like Sean then that's a positive thing. And it is in the first half with the group-based challenges. Once you get to individual challenges, many of them are proportional to your body weight. So the small women or small men or whoever, but tend to do really well at those. So it's like, then, you're not that, it's not advantageous in the second half being like muscly.
I mean, occasionally there'll be like the closest they get to it is always a foot torture thing at the end in Australian Survivor.
I feel like that's the only thing you should try to get good at.
Is torturing your feet.
Yeah, because you don't need to be good at challenges. You just need to not be a liability at the start. Because if you're a liability, the tribe doesn't want you. Okay. But as long as you can get through that bit, then
so if you can
don't need to be
relative
good at
cardio and upper body.
A couple of knots, be good at a puzzle maybe instead. Or
throwing things, I've heard about that.
Yeah, I'm so bad at throwing.
This is going to be a very South Australian, Victorian thing.
Do it.
But so you grew up in Mildura,
yes,
and didn't play netball.
No.
And there's like a brief moment on the Survivor podcast where you almost waxed lyrical about the pain of not being a netball girl.
I have not regrets, but I had a complex about it.
Yeah. You were in country Australia.
I know.
And you weren't playing, you were doing ballet instead of netball.
Yeah, and everyone casually is just always like, oh, could you just please help? Like, we need a wing defense or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. I can't do it.
My wife sometimes gets asked to play.
Can you play?
No, she gets too negative. She throws elbows.
Oh, competitive, great.
You went with your cousin in New Zealand and she came back shell-shocked from what you did to the other team. Yeah, and then
but
you
you
really...
do know how to play.
Sure, man.
You got it.
I know that you were invited back. I think you did well.
No, I never did. I never did netball. I did dancing, which ultimately probably helped more because I attacked my feet for most of my youth.
This is the... Man, there's 2 bits of this that I want to use. I want to do like a video of just talking about Survivor stuff.
Yeah.
And then do the like challenge thing and learning about it. So we'll figure it out and we'll edit it back and forward. So I can jump around.
Do
but
whatever,
I just... All right.
Yeah, we got the editing abilities.
You talk about I've read some of your work and I saw your boss's TED Talk and I read some of that. Also, it reminded me how much of academia is like just having meetings with people and agreeing with your colleagues. And like there's one footnote on one of the articles that's sort of like a more woke point about pain management. Like everyone's pain management is real at the end of the Delphi system, and it doesn't make the cut, but there still has to be a note there going like, and we thought this was a good note and we wanted to use this in the future. Maybe this was your note.
That is really important. I think this is with chronic pain.
Yes.
And I work a lot with adolescents with chronic pain, young people, and they're just not believed. Like they spend years trying to like convince doctors and like parents and teachers that like I'm not making this up. Like because people think that young people can't get chronic pain. You think it's an old person's problem.
Yes.
So then you don't believe a young person. You're like, you just don't want to go to school. And then like, but it's a common thing for young people. That sucks.
But then this is a weird thing that the answer to the chronic pain is some version of it has to mean less to you. Like pain is not damage. And pain is in your brain. Do you know what I mean? This is a weird. This is 2 ideas that in an unsophisticated way seem to contradict each other. Because your pain, it's very close. Saying pain is not damage is similar, but not the same as saying pain is not real. Like, don't worry about the pain.
I think that's the important difference because this is the trouble. Pain is something that because you feel it in your body, you think you need something to that part of the body to fix it. Like maybe I need to cut something out or massage something or do something to that bit which hurts. But that's the treatments that we know that work don't always relate to that because the problem isn't always, say, the muscle. It's like the system. It's the nervous system. It's the sensitization, not necessarily like something that's happened or broken there.
Yes.
Which means that the treatments sometimes that can be really good are things like psych, dealing with stress, helps like... It has effects on the nervous system, which is good and fine. But then if you say to someone, oh, okay, you've got chronic pain, psych is really good, they're going to hear, oh, you think I'm making this up. You think I'm crazy. No. So you have to match that with, okay, no, we believe that you have pain. This is why we think that therapy will be good.
This is what was then very nice about it. Because when I saw that what you did was communicate... the theory of pain to adolescents, the original gut reaction to seeing that is, science communication.
That's sort
right?
of, yeah.
Where you go, it's nice to teach people about concepts and Bill Nye the Science Guy, but this is not serious scientific work. Then reading about it, it's not that at all. It's that the cognitive side is genuinely helpful and you need to, like, for the treatment of the pain, not just like a nice thing so that people can know about it. It's part of getting over it. Getting over it is not a term that people are going to like in the game, but for managing the pain effectively, having a cognitive framework to approach it is vital. So then finding a way to communicate that effectively, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed reading about it. It seems like, and I want to use that and steal that from you and how you've used that in like specific techniques that can be employed to get ahead in my personal survivor journey. So for example, when you're doing the rope challenge, there's a bit where you sort of disassociate and you start talking to your hand and you go like, you're fine. And you're just like putting the hand in its place.
Yes.
Were you consciously doing that? Is that a technique?
Yeah, because pain is a feeling we get that is telling us stop whatever you are doing because it's potentially dangerous or it has caused you damage or it could cause you damage, right? That's like the messages we're getting from pain. And that's really helpful. Like if I've got my hand on a stove, I want to feel some pain, so I take it away and I don't burn my hand. Like that's great. But when I have pain from holding a bit of rope And that is telling me, ooh, if you like keep holding this rope, maybe you'll get like some friction on your finger and maybe you'll tear a bit of skin or get a blister, right?
Yeah.
I don't care. Like,
Okay.
I don't care. I don't think that is, I feel like that pain is there to warn me of danger, damage, potential damage to my hand that I'm not concerned about. And so I'm trying to like reduce the threat of that pain to my system by just telling myself like that the warning it's giving me, I don't need that warning. I'm aware, but I don't think that this damage is going to be an issue.
Part of that is knowing that the damage is not going to be an issue.
Yeah, which helps because I've got a physio background, so I
Right,
can
so you
understand
know.
the body.
So when you're standing on those pegs at the end, you're going, okay, like what's the worst thing that this will do to my body?
Genuinely, and as is what happened, like you see George step off at some point, and I'm sure he's in so much pain by the point he steps off, but he steps off, walks over, sits down, and then he's chatting. Like, he's fine. You look at his feet, yeah, they'll be red, they'll be sore. There is no long-term damage. There's no issue to like, I just kept going through this like levels of the body. I'm like, okay, bones, nothing's gonna happen to your bone. Muscle, like nerves, like biologically, what the heck could even happen? The issue is that like you're getting some buildup of some like acids in there, some like chemicals, nothing's moving, your blood flow's not moving. Like,
This is so good to know. Hold on.
if you can just move a little.
Now, yeah, you're often saying that because when people lock in, and I do quiz nights sometimes, and I'll get people to do the hold your arms out for as long as you can. And people in that one go, never move your arms a little bit because that'll make it harder and worse. But then some things, like if you're on things you do want to move, so is movement always good?
I think that when you're standing on some of those challenges like Survivor, like the KFC one that I did with George and we won that one.
Yeah.
And the tiny pegs, you put your feet on them. If you just lock your foot in and don't move, my understanding is that that's going to hurt more because you're going to have more of a build-up of kind of like some byproducts that will create sensitization of your nerves. Like, it's going to hurt your nerves.
So is this like bile building up? What is...
It's not bile.
What
it's
is
like
it?
kind of like lactic acid almost. Like the
Okay.
stuff that builds up. Like, I'm not fully a neuroscience person, right? Like, I don't fully understand.
But
all
you're
this.
going, there's not a long-term... I'm not going to be crippled
Oh,
by
God, no.
this.
Unless I fall funnily and then I fracture a limb.
Well, that's what scared me in the one where they were doing the foot pegs and they said, let's go to one leg, and then they're like that over the pegs going up. Because if you did fall there...
Was this the KFC one?
No, it was they were holding an idol
Oh, yeah,
and
I
had one
watched
foot.
that one.
And I thought, like, you could get impaled on the... So some of the challenges could hurt
There
you.
are balance risks. Yeah, there are. Yep.
And people do get hurt in Survivor all the time.
They do.
We just watched the
You've seen
Survivor
George-
season where a man has to be helicoptered out in a boat accident.
Yes.
That's not quite a challenge. But who else? What were you going to say? Sorry.
George's face. You see his forehead. Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Jackie's shoulder. Yep.
Was that not absurd, that first challenge? Mm-hmm. A lady did her collarbone, right?
Yeah, fractured badly. Yeah. Yep. That was absurd.
Did you feel when you were doing it that there was any chance you would get hurt doing it, or did they do it in a weird way? It looked scary on television. Don't say anything that will make Channel 10 feel like they got a lawsuit coming.
Yeah, I think they'll
Well,
be.
here's-
It
the
was
one that
scary.
upsets me is when there are always like some that you go physically, like Tay, when we were watching the crucifixion ones of the, you know, like
Oh,
you're on
yeah?
your feet and you're held up. It's like, we had a big chat about, like, you feel like you're good at those ones, you could do it. And like when you were in labour, you were sitting there for a long time and you find it really uncomfortable to watch that challenge. But also the drowning one, where you're underwater and you go, someone could drown here. The one for me is when there's wrestling underwater, and I just feel like I personally would snap and just really kill something. You know, who knows? We'll
That'd be
cut that
great
one out
TV.
before. Wouldn't it be great TV? I
Yeah.
think they'd cut that episode. And
No, they'd keep that in. I think.
a man has died on Australian
Oh, well, if
Survivor.
you die, jeez, yeah.
No.
They've cut
But
that.
that is weird to watch someone just hold someone underwater.
Yeah, there's rules. You
television.
shouldn't do some of that stuff's. There's rules. You're always trying to play with the rules that they give you, like, yeah, like wiggle around them. Like, yes, you do have to check, like. Not drown each other, but like you're not meant to drown each other. Or like if you've got the peg or whatever it is and they're drowning, you just like throw it away or something. Like
How
that kind of stuff.
loose are the rules different to the challenges to what they present them as on television?
They're more in depth. Like they'll
Yeah.
tell us more. Like you can't
Are
pull
you getting?
hair. And
Do you get
can't.
questions?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we get plenty of time to like check that we understand fully the rules of the game and that we walk through heaps of safety. Like
There's like a big, like, YouTube compilation videos, like people hacking challenges, which doesn't seem to happen as much in the Australian one. So I don't know if they're more specific with the rules. But like that rope holding one, I was thinking like if you could get your foot on it.
Oh yeah, no,
right?
like, no, there'd be heaps. Yeah, you can't use foot. Like there'll be heaps of stuff like that. Like
damn, my first idea was use
even
foot.
that rope one. There was like you couldn't face forward fully. You had to stay sideways, and if you were too forward, they would call you out, and you'd have to something like that. I can't fully remember, but there's quite specific rules that they can call you up on.
What about there's one where you're chasing like a ring in the water and George like tosses it far away.
Yeah.
But could you toss that? But it's also tossed in like a gentlemanly distance. Like if you really wanted to do it, you could.
You could, yes.
Yeah.
You can't throw it outside the boundary, but you could throw it away.
I didn't know you couldn't throw it outside the boundary. I was thinking of getting onto the beach.
Where are they going to zoom those cameras outside? That's annoying.
I'd never thought of the way that it filmed has to be part of it. So that you can hack the challenge a bit, but they are more specific with the rules.
There's quite the rules are really around safety and trying to keep it not fair, but trying to keep it relatively fair.
Have you ever been in a challenge where your physio brain went, if I do this a certain way or I do this too long, I could have long-term something? Because I'm not going to have the physio brain, right? If I get to do it, that's outside my reach of things I can understand. But if I have some level of faith, they're never going to do something that could hobble me for life, then I can just always think, you'll get over it. You're not going to lose a toe.
Yeah,
you're not going to develop sciatica.
The ones that I've done before, yeah, that's hard because then I don't want to give you this advice and then you're like, I held it for 10 hours and now
I waive your responsibility for me personally. But have you ever gone, my life's in danger on this challenge, I better not do it? You got in a cage and they pushed you down a slide. That looks like that
was so much fun.
All right.
That was really fun. And I had like 2 AFL players carrying me and like who else, like a body, like it was like amazing.
I mean, I probably don't have to worry. They're not going to put me in the cage. I'm not the pick for the cage.
No.
It was so hot.
No.
We'll get back to paint stuff. But I want to do
whatever.
This one, we're back on Survivor stuff. Is Kieran in here?
No, he's not in here, but he would like to.
All right, get him in. Are you having fun? I'm having so much fun.
I'm trying to think of like how you're going to succeed in this, and I don't think.
Oh no, hold on. You hold on to that.
Yeah.
You hold on to that. I just don't want to embarrass myself on. Are we still going, Sam? Hello,
How
Kieran.
How are you going?
This is Kieran.
How you going, Kieran? Yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
Can I keep talking, Sam?
He's like, don't make me stop.
No. All right. I know I'm not going to win all the challenges, and there are things on. I tried holding. I managed at like 40 kilograms, like 2 minutes, and George made it to 13 minutes. So I was like, when I go back to it, it's like if I can beat the George time, that's my goal. He was the first day of the challenge.
I reckon, you want to lean into the things that you're good at.
Yeah.
And if it's challenges, it's challenges. But like being good at challenges, you rarely win. Like whatever model I had in the season I won, I wouldn't ever use that as a model to win.
Okay.
Because I got voted out. Like I only got back in through the grace of the game, and I was playing big.
Yes.
Like I was doing big moves and winning challenges, and typically that kind of person doesn't get to the end. Like really, not really that person gets to the end, the big move person. Someone like David, when he won, he was not... if you ask people on the beach, they would say he wasn't really playing big. He was playing big to the camera, but not on the beach.
I think I heard that in an interview with someone where he would come back from the beach and go, I'm giving them incredible stuff on the camera.
And he's amazing in the camera. But if you play that big in the game, it's very difficult to get to the end.
But then when you watch like Boston Rob doing it, and he's in American Survivor, he'll be doing things like, everybody get your bag, turn your bags over, show you don't have it, and people love it. The cult of personality. It doesn't always work, and it doesn't always get you to the end.
And it really depends on what your goal is, because it took a really long time for him to win the game. He played like 5 times or something. He played so many times before he won. Like his first season he did, in his second season.
But if you marry the person who wins, you also get the money.
If you propose to them 5 seconds before they win, like you get the money. Yeah, that's true.
They say you can't, because you can't talk about you would split the money, right?
You're not allowed to, no. But if you marry
proposing them is the secret.
It is the secret. Although I don't think your wife's gonna let you do that,
honey.
She's like, no.
I understand.
Yeah.
For now, we live in a bigoted country where bigamy is temporarily frozen out.
So I just don't think challenges will be the thing you have to really worry too much about. It's, the game is the thing that...
Yeah.
Focus on the game.
You know what? I can edit a lot of this out if I feel like it'll hurt me in the long run. But first...
Because if you get on and then it leaks that... I'm just picturing now that you're cast for the next season, and then because they always leak the cast somehow gets leaked.
If I get on the shortlist,
you have to delete this.
Unlisted.
List it later, but you'd have to.
Yeah, I think, but even then, the chances of, the likelihood of getting through is better now that I have an Instagram because they love that.
Did you just get an Instagram?
No, but I've just gotten better at Instagram.
Got it, yeah.
And it's not even great. I'm on 4,000 soon.
Yeah.
But that seems to be enough. I've checked out the other people who are influencers, and that seems to be about there's a pathway to audience here.
Oh, yeah.
I can give you.
Yeah, but the fact that they've opened auditions, that pathway where people who are not influencers get in, that's really positive because they didn't do that for the last few seasons.
Right, I'd wondered why they were only telling me to audition for whatever the fucking one with the bars of silver is or something.
How far have you gotten in the process? What is it?
No, sorry, there was some other show. They're always trying to go we can have our own Channel 10 show that's just as good as Survivor, that's our intellectual property, and it'll be the magical mole. And it's a game of deception and lies and boardroom. And it gets terrible ratings and no one wants to watch it anymore. But there's something very human and weird about Survivor. A very smart woman who is now dead told me, that's a weird way to introduce it, but she was so intellectual, and I wasn't watching any TV, and I'd watch some of the early seasons of Australian Survivor, and that was it. And it's this is people with broad Aussie accents trying not to say anything. And if you're just getting a little glimpse of a tribal when people are actively trying not to give anything away, I think tonight's vote is about sitting with... do they call it pork barreling? What do they call it?
Oh, no, I just said boring. It can be so boring.
But it's if you think they're being earnest, you go, not only is it boring, I think these people might be very stupid. You don't know any of the subtext of what's going on, and they're trying to play... They're literally playing it as dumb as they can.
Yes.
So if all you're seeing is someone playing it dumb and you buy into it, you go,
this is boring.
I think this is dumb. This is not a good show.
Well, I do think the editing this season is much better because they're letting the
Holy
audience
shit.
in on the game. So you know everything, and you're God, that person better do this, otherwise it's
the editing.
The editing they've hired a new editing team for this new season.
Artistic element of the editing, where fucking Simon with silence, crying in the forest. I've never seen this on another reality TV show. But no, there's a bit where George is thinking about voting off Shani, and he's just walking up and down the beach at night alone. They never did any of this stuff before. Not even American Survivor does this stuff because it's so pacey to get to the end. Those heartfelt when people cry. You didn't have any big crying moments this year. You're pragmatic. You're going to get done. Did you cry?
They had the content. They had the content.
There are teary moments?
It was a tough season. It was so tough. There was definitely down times for me. But unless it matters for the narrative of the night, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
If you're sad, but then your tribe isn't a tribal council, who cares? What are they going to do? Just be
yeah, there's not a lot of screen time when you're all winning.
Crying back over there.
Sorry, I've got to talk about the Simon stuff.
Yeah, I love Simon. I love Simon.
Because I came on side over the season.
Yes, it's hard not to.
Well, the first episode, he burns the hat, right? And he's I'm a villain. I'm out to get George. And everything is very... Because he's swole. He's a big guy, and he's playing from the top. And that's not appealing. As if he's trying at the start. He's acting like he's playing from the top. That's how they're depicting it. They're depicting it he's the big man on campus. He's at the top of his alliance, and he's also huge, and he's picking on the little guy.
Okay.
It doesn't look it's hard to be sympathetic for that man.
Yes.
Then when he's on the bottom and he's so sad and everything he tries fails and he's talking to himself in the mirror. Have you watched the Jury Villas at all? There's a bit at the end where he looks himself in the mirror and he says, Simon, I'm proud of you.
Oh.
And it's what is happening? This is a French film.
And it's so genuinely him too. You can't pretend to be that.
I don't think you would.
No, and he came in... what I love about Simon is that he's just so optimistic. And when you're winning, that's not fun for people because it looks like it's cocky.
Yeah.
And it might be cocky, right? Maybe that's what it is sometimes. If you're doing amazing and you turn to everyone and you're how amazing am I? And everyone's like, yeah.
Well, that's when it grates, is when he wins a challenge and he goes, I've believed in myself and I'm where I should be. And you go,
know, but like there's also something really healthy about that.
Yeah.
You know, but Australians hate it because we're like tall poppy. We're like, I don't want to see someone succeed when they're like a big, strong guy. Like you just don't want to see it. You want to see the person who's losing do better.
Yes.
And so to see a big, strong guy succeed and then to say, I believed in myself, we hate that.
But to see the big, strong guy fail and pick himself up day after day.
Exactly. And
it's
like that's
magical.
And when someone is low, we think what they should do is talk positive to themselves. Like, believe in yourself, pick yourself up. So like it's we're okay with it when you're failing, but not when you're succeeding.
Yeah.
It's weird because we should be okay with it all the time.
It's weird how the culture of that feeds into the show and how different it is to the American one and how hard it is for the players who love Survivor to recognise that they're not playing the game that they think they're playing and they should be playing, and how frustrated they are. That sounds vague. To break it down, okay, you play really hard and you get voted out on the first season.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come back and you go, when Geordie comes back after his redemption, no, he doesn't get a redemption arc. His brother goes and he's embittered by it. And he goes...
He does get a redemption.
He gets the redemption?
Season 7, yep.
Okay. But he comes back and goes, I'm going to have to be... I'm a supervillain. I'm turning it up. I'm playing... I'm a literal crazy person. And you come back and you go full-blown obsequious. There's a bit, I think, where you talk about body language and you're like, I'm going to be lower than people.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be... And you start a conversation with someone and like lie on the ground and just so that they feel bigger than you. And it's like... But also the pride that you don't have in that. You're like, this is what's required. This is so impressive. You seem to understand what is required in the game theory of it, and then you just do it flawlessly. You're really good at figuring out what the game is supposed to be for you and forcing yourself to be that person. Does that sound...
Yeah.
Does that resonate? Most people can't do that.
So I think when I got voted out... I was really embarrassed.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big fan and I was really proud of getting on in the first place, proud of making moves, okay with getting voted off. Like at some point I assumed I might not win, but not the way it happened. Every single person wrote my name down when I got voted off. And that turned out to be a good thing because it meant that when I came back, there wasn't like a contingent of people who were like, oh no, we have to vote her out again because she's going to come for us. I was coming for everyone. Yeah. Like I didn't have anyone specifically to be upset towards. And so that, I think I was actually humbled by what happened. Like I had to think that I'm doing so well and then have everyone write your name down and go out, and to think like that was embarrassing. I don't want it to end like that. It can end, but I don't want it to end like that.
Yeah.
Meant that when I came back in, I could play with humility because I was humbled already by that experience. And I decided that I was okay to be out of control. I didn't need to be like the one driving the vote, which I felt like I wanted to do before. And I just felt like I'm willing to go down with the ship. I'm going to decide this is my crew and I'll go down with them. And if we lose, that's fine, but I want to know I tried.
Yeah.
And because I think this is my best path to the end. And not because I was like, yeah, you're my friends, like whatever, we're all, who cares, a Survivor. But more so that I just was willing to like plant my feet in and go down if it didn't work. Whereas I'm that's my downfall in this game. Like even in this season I just did when I got voted out, like I wasn't willing to lose control and I just wanted to like put a vote somewhere, and like that's my downfall in this game.
Well,
you have to know yourself. Like the only way to win this game is to know yourself well and what you succeed and fail in.
Yeah.
And just why your weaknesses are bad and how to use them. Like.
Well, where it looks like your game unravels on this season is a couple of turns before it does, when you're trying to get George out because you don't want to come second.
Oh, yeah, I probably didn't need to do that.
Well, I don't know, because it's increasingly clear in these episodes now how useful you would have been, how good it would be to have someone outside of this. There's an alliance on my left and on my right.
Yeah.
You really want one person there so that if that does start falling apart, they can come for them instead of you.
I probably could have just trusted that I could move further in this game and get him out at another point. Like, you could always try to get him at another point. There might be a point, but I just was fearful that the people with him were just blinded and weren't ever going to do it. Like, and I just was scared that they would never do it.
But when you did that as well, there hadn't been that. I think a turning point in that is Simon running around telling everybody you're a pawn, which he wouldn't necessarily have done if you were still in the game. Like, he has to have tried. That seems like a weird last resort thing that he's doing. And then only then, that's also a great, I don't want to.
He's so good for TV.
It's so good for TV. And then when Jerry is like, looks like he's going to vote George out, and then he's so offended by what Simon has said. And then it's like the game theory gives way to ego again, and this is unpredictable.
Yeah.
So you just have fun. But you start having a shot at George by going to, who is it? It's Nina, Sean, and Sam.
Yep.
And they have 2 idols. You don't know that they have 2 idols? You don't know they have any idols, right?
Yeah, I don't even know they have any idols, no.
On the show. You might suspect. You don't know any. They've got 2.
I say if you have one,
you give them the right information.
Yes.
They use 2 wrongly.
They do.
And George would have gone home if they'd used one of them the right way, and then it would all look very different, and it would have been...
And maybe I would have gone next. Who knows? So, like, not
I
necessarily...
mean, mate, it's hard to say.
You never know. Would have cracked the game open.
Is the problem there that they didn't trust you enough?
Yeah.
So is the problem there that, like, to do that move, you have to have kept the relationship going with them better? Because you've been on a tribe with them since early on, and then once you make there's some footage on the show of like Sean going, "Can we work together?" And you're like, maybe at some point, but you don't.
I don't give him much.
No.
Yeah. I think what I did well the first time I played, I didn't do as well this time, which is you like always making sure you've got options everywhere. And so like the first time I played, I'd have an alliance, I'd be in a majority, and I would still talk to the other side and say, what do you guys want to do? Yeah, or you want to get George out? Okay, we could do that. Like, you know, always be the option for them so that they always come to you and think at some point she'll work with us.
Yeah.
I didn't do that this time. And I think it was much harder for me to be this kind of like flexible person because there was a lot of, I perceived that there was a lot of eyes on me. And just that I wasn't just this no one that could float around. I was like the only winner out there.
Yeah.
And that already put this target on me. And so I think I was fearful to have too many conversations with people. Because if I was talking to Sean a lot and Sam a lot and Nina a lot.
Then it's Hayley's having a lot of conversations.
Well, yeah, she's the last one who joined this alliance. Maybe like she's actually not with us. Like we've seen her do this before. Like maybe. So I just wanted the alliance I was in to just fully trust me, and having all these side conversations, I felt like that wouldn't be good. But then it means that when you want to do something with them, they're not as keen on doing it. And I didn't drive it home. Like that was a lot of the time I didn't drive home my plans. I was just like, maybe do this.
Yeah.
Anyway, and run away. And I think that's a combination of, feeling fearful that like if I talk to everyone that might like people wouldn't trust me, they just vote me out. I was already a target. And like just a little bit less motivation the second time around.
Well, in like a football dynasty, even when the list is good, it's hard to keep winning premierships.
Yeah.
Did you feel like
100%? Like
you didn't get voted off the first round, and that was a win. And after that was everything.
I remember on like day 5 being like so they called me to play again, and for a while I was like, nah, like I just want like it's too I'm not gonna last. Like what's the point? And then I don't know, like a few things it's a little window of my life where I still am free and able to play. I'm not tied up with other things that would mean I had to say no. Like I could say yes. Like work would allow me. I haven't got a baby right now or anything. Like I could do it. And they're going to Samoa. It's going to be on an island. I grew up on American Survivor. Like this is what I've always imagined. I was just going to do it. I had to go in knowing that the outcome probably wouldn't be as good as last time. Like that's okay. But that's okay. You don't have to win to enjoy the journey. But I just thought I want to weave a palm frond. I want to be on an island. I want to drink a coconut. And so like I remember day 5 being like, okay, so I've done those things now.
What am I playing for?
What am I playing for? Am I playing to win? Am I actually playing to win? Like I will play to win, but am I going to win? Like. Well,
also $500,000 is not what $500,000 was at an earlier time in our lives.
Yeah, but still, like...
Hey, it's great.
It's a 1 in 24 shot. It felt like the odds might have not have been as good as that for me, but still, like, that's a pretty good odds at that money.
But then coming second is not... Having won and then come second, right? And having won and then coming 5th or 6th or something is not material, like... If it's a 50-50, I come sixth or I win.
Mm-hmm.
This is it seems like coming second is not as difficult as coming a good fifth.
I'm not interested in.
Yeah.
I would rather go out earlier than come second. I'm really not interested in getting to the end and losing.
Yeah.
Like that's not. It's not a game where like the first player is the best, the second player is the second best. I don't think so.
No.
Like there are people who get taken towards the end because everyone's like, I would love to sit next to you. Like when people say to you in the game, oh, I'd love to go to the end with you. Like that's not a compliment.
It's insulting,
like,
right?
Yeah, it's not a compliment. I try not to say that to people.
I'd like to. Yeah. There was. Man, it's only because I listened to it earlier on, but on the first game that there was someone who came to you on like the second day.
Oh, I'm good friends with him. Yeah, he's
all
great.
Right. But that's like a weird. I should never say that.
I've had long chats to him about that, and he really meant it genuinely. Like I don't really love all the people here, and I'd go to the end with you. And I think he tells me he meant it more like I think we'd play this game well together, but I immediately took it as like as if you can promise someone that this early on. I don't like the idea that you would try to promise that, and it's not a compliment to say, oh, I think that I could like carry you under my wing and beat you at the end.
But he was trying to express how much he did not like
the others,
the other people. Yeah. How much is personal antipathy to people are motivating?
Early on a lot, right? Yeah. Later, you just suck it up. You suck it up.
Yeah.
If someone's annoying later,
are we talking like post merge or post?
Yeah,
like
I think by merge.
Important?
Yeah, I think by merge, I would keep people. You'd have to be really annoying to want to be voted out at that point. Like if you're making social faux pas, like you're maybe a really useful person to take to the end. Like.
Well, in that David versus Goliath season, there's just a couple. There's a weird pivot moment. Okay, like your body's hype shifts. We spoke about that. Like if you have a useful body for challenges at the start, that's not the same as a useful body for challenges at the end. Similarly, like your threat level for your body changes. Like that big guy is not a threat on the. So it's like nice to have that he's helpful on those ones, and then at the end,
well, it's funny
he doesn't get in
how
the way.
like I feel like the threat doesn't always change in line with where it probably should.
Okay.
Like people still see a big strong guy and think, I want him to get voted out at the second half of the game when it's individual. When maybe they shouldn't really care.
Yeah.
Like
when they come to torture his feet, there's a lot more force on them.
Yeah. Like if you want to win against someone at a final challenge, like you should probably take Sean. Like that would be good. Like
he'll be too big.
He might be too big. Like doesn't matter if he's an athlete.
Why is it always a foot torture challenge in Australia?
I don't know.
I've written it. I saw you. I haven't got it on me, but I wrote an essay about it and how beautiful it is. Just the and no, I haven't. I'm going to put it in a book at some point. But it's like this strange Christ thing of like, what is at the end of the gospel? His feet are being tortured, and his family and friends are there watching it happen until he gives up. And it's like, his mother's there crying, and on the show, like everyone's family is there weeping next to them.
I remember George's mum when we were doing it. George's mum was like, honey, if it hurts, you just get off. It's fine. Like, maybe
the worst thing that someone could possibly tell you.
Like, you don't want your mum there who, like, wants to care for you and doesn't want to see you in pain. You want someone who's, like, you want your sister there who's, like, okay to see you in pain. Like, hold on.
I don't doubt that you briefed Jimmy on what he was and wasn't allowed to, the useful things to say at that point.
No, he knew well enough what to do. Like, he
you'd had
was
the
not...
lockdown, you'd watched it and you'd spoken about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and he was not... I don't know. He just said he wasn't cheering on anyone else and was just cheering on me.
Were other people cheering on other people?
Yeah, like the mum was like, good job, everybody. But I don't think that's...
Hey, if you get to come along, you ought to say horrible things to the other people.
You should say to the other person's mother, ideally, that's there, like, oh, this is really dangerous. I really don't think they should be doing this for very long. You should encourage them to come off.
There's, like, it's... The thing that fascinated me about it was, like, Flick goes into this, I'm going to conquer the pain. Like, I can climb the pain. The pain will not defeat me. And then the other, there's like every season, you can't tell until a couple of episodes in, but who was Emmett was maybe his name, where they're like loading him up and you go like, you go, I don't know how to describe it. It's like some other plane of existence where it's like people aren't really there. or they're so there that it's not an issue. Where it's like if you're fighting the pain, then it's a matter of time until you lose that fight. But if you're like, this has to go on all day.
Like, yeah, like you distract yourself from it. You don't focus on the pain because that's not going to help. Like that's going to make the pain more threatening. And the goal, I think, is to make the pain less threatening, because pain is threat. It's a measure of threat, and it's trying to tell you something. So you don't want more threat, you want less.
Tell yourself.
So if you can cognitively make things less threat, great. If you can distract yourself by not focusing, great. If you focus on it.
Can't damage me. It is hurting me. Excuse me.
Yes, yeah, hurting, but not damaging you. Yeah, I think that any threats at all aren't good. So I spent the time in those kind of painful challenges focusing on like positive things, distracting things that could really distract me. Like some of the challenges I'd try to play games with the people sitting on the bench who'd already gone out.
Okay.
Like, you know, name a country starting from A, B, C, D, whatever. Any just distracting things. If you have the person next to you still in the challenge, you want to talk to them and stay distracted with them, like even though it helps them. Yeah, I think that stuff is good. I know that the like JLP, the host, is trying to get sound bites so that people at home can know how it feels. So he's asking you, like, how does it feel? And you know, probably the good TV players will give you nice descriptive things. Like I remember some of the other players saying in challenges, like, it feels like my arm is getting pulled out of its socket. It feels like I'm standing on 1,000 tiny knives.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think that's helpful. Like as a visual, to be hearing and to think about and to be visualizing fragility in your body in that kind of way, or threat to your body. So like, I'm not going to give you a soundbite that makes everyone else like understand the feeling. I'm just going to be like, no, I'm great. I'm fine. Like, I
can do that.
Yeah.
I can definitely do that.
Yes.
You said a thing in an interview about the body gives you, like the brain gives you pain. Like you're managing, it's something like, if you think of 1,000 knives going into the foot, how much pain is your brain going to give you?
Well, the brain, like, I guess, so in the same way that like hunger, thirst, any feeling you have at all is essentially created by the brain. Like it's not created by the foot. The foot can't make pain. Like it's pain is a feeling. So it's if your brain makes it in the same way it makes everything. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So like you feel hunger in your tummy, but like hunger is not just stomach related. Like it might have something to do with messages being sent to your brain about what is in the stomach or not, or the distension of it. But then there'll be, what can you see? What can you smell? Can you see food? Or now suddenly I'm hungry. Like,
is knowing this enough to do it though?
I don't
and
think
just
you
like
can...
sheer brute will, no, it's fine. It's in my head. I can get through it. Or are there like skills and tricks you can do? And like, what can you pragmatically, do you hurt yourself a little more each day and think about something so it's a toxin?
I wouldn't think so. You could try. No, I think that I think like...
I want some Kowitz Haradak Dune. Have you read Dune?
No, I've watched Dune.
It's when he puts his like hand in the box and he's got these mind techniques to like not care about the pain.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
No, I don't have that. No.
That's fine.
No.
Is it, now, are you super hot in here, by the way?
I'm okay, I've got my beer.
Oh, you've got... Can I have another one of these? Please. I'm having the best time.
Oh, good.
So
me too. I thought that
if you
was
start to
about
get
to turn
bored
on.
and you want to walk out,
No,
you let me know.
I'm right.
But I got
Go for it.
I don't know how long we've been going for. 50. All right.
How long we've been going for? Yeah, you're gonna have some editing to do.
Sam's gonna have a lot of editing.
Oh.
All right, hold on. Let me get everything that I gotta get.
I don't want you to like go home and then be like, oh.
All right. Here we go. Are we still going?
Oh, yeah.
All right. And some of these might be academic questions that there are no answers, or like it's a hypothetical that doesn't make any sense.
Shoot.
But if you had gone up against Flick at the end, say she'd won that challenge and taken you, hypothetically.
I would, yep.
Could you have said anything, do you think, to get that jury?
I would have tried my best, but I don't think so.
Okay.
I do think that the...
Thank you.
I think that often the jury has their mind made up before they go in. And I think that the social aspect, it's just so important because you need to sit next to someone they like less than you at the end. Like, I kind of feel like it seems like it's a really complicated formula.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, if you're more likable than the person you're sitting next to, you should win. Like, you should win.
Mm.
Like, that's how I won, I think. Like, I could argue I had moves
No,
and stuff,
100%.
but I think that's what happened. Although in season 1 of Australian Survivor, Christy Bennett won against Lee. And I think that the jury were planning to vote Lee when they walked in but changed their mind. So she persuaded well. And I think that her persuasion skills did win out. So it is important.
But you're not really persuading the whole jury. You might be getting like a couple, maybe just a couple of people. Yeah. But like there might be a couple of swing votes of people who dislike both of you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and people might...
Clearly in that first season, a lot of people dislike both of you.
Both of me and George?
You and George.
Yes, yeah.
And then you just had to
well,
make them...
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know that... Yeah. I guess.
Cara,
Cara
came in very fierce against you. I know that wasn't
that wasn't against me. That was for George.
No, that was for George.
That was for George.
But it was... Man, I just watched that back today.
I know.
That's crazy.
That was rough. That was like what I interpreted that question she asked me in the jury as
she asks you like, you lied and you deceived. Did you mean to do that, or did that just come naturally?
Yeah, did that just come naturally to you? You're just like a bitch. Like
yeah.
No, that was fine. I was never getting her vote because she's like best friends with George because of the social component. Like regardless.
So George got her, and he got
Laura.
He got Laura. And he did, and you got
everyone else.
Wow. I don't want to.
But then it's like.
Why didn't you get Laura? Do you think? Have you spent any time on it?
Yeah, I've spoken to her about it.
Okay.
Oh, it's her story though. I feel like
Laura, come on any time and talk about it. Don't talk about it. It's all right. Hold on. It's just. So I mean, this year and these people. Man, it's interesting that you said that. That changes what I wanted to. It's changed my perception of how...
it has.
Well, I feel like on the American one, there's a more of a sense of like we should reward the best player. We all love the game, and maybe it's just that on a social level, they love great gameplay. Do you know what I mean? And it's not always the case, but it seems like there's a premium put on having played really well. Whereas... in that jury that you and George are at, it's being held against you by everybody. And it's sort of, you're pitching yourself as like, you could have done all your tactical moves and emphasized the start of the game, but instead you emphasize winning challenges and the social game. And you give them like what do you call it? Like a rubric out of 3 to go, I should be getting 3 or 2 out of 3, and George at most can get 1 out of 3. And they all buy it, but you sense also it's because they like you more and they want an excuse.
Like, you're out there for a long time. By the point of getting to the jury, you should know the people in the jury. You have been on a tribe with them at one point. Yeah. The first person, maybe not for very long, who knows. But you're just selling your story to them. You don't have to be the best player in the eyes of the viewers or what makes best TV or anything. You just need those people to vote for you, and you should know them by now. You've had time with them. You've had time to get to know them. So I think the goal of the person at the end is to sell the story the jury wants to hear. That's all you're meant to do.
Well, that's what you do in that first season. The difference, because George comes out and he's like, I am the greatest strategic player in the world, which is not the strategic move at that point, right? Like it's like a murderer who's taken the thing off at the end and gone, yes, detective, it was I who did it. At the very moment you want to be concealing it. Like the strategic move is to keep winning those particular people. You have to keep winning them. And you go like, hey, jury, how's it going? And you're so warm. And
yeah, look, I sometimes feel like when people play this game, there's kind of this spectrum. You can play to win it, and that could just be your only objective, regardless of anything else. You could play to be like a TV person, like to play really well for TV, and that might not be at all anything to do with winning. Or you could be somewhere on the spectrum. And I would suggest that...
there are some players who are somewhere on the spectrum.
Yeah. I would suggest that, like, say, for example, me and George, I play with the intention to win when I play. Don't really care about how it comes off on TV. Yeah. Like, if I'm, like, a huge part of the edit or not, I don't care. I've gone to play the game. That's what I'm interested in, is the game, not, like, I don't particularly love being on TV. Some people maybe are more interested in...
I'm looking forward to being on TV more. Yeah. I think I would host the project very well, but I am passed over for that opportunity repeatedly. No, I've said too much shit about the project.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it's got to be there still, it might not survive. Look, I don't know. I think...
Can I ask you that? Okay.
If you play for TV...
Yeah.
It might not always be the thing you need to win. Like, if you want to be like, I'm amazing, like, that's hard to win.
Well, I don't necessarily want to say that all the time.
You should play to win. That catamaran will pay for itself.
It seems like the closer you get to winning, the more of an edit you get for TV anyway, because you're more useful to be introduced to people earlier on.
Oh,
it's not
sure.
true of everybody.
Yeah, sure.
But if, like, when they're getting people to give context early on, you could let the person giving context be Steve, who's very, I'm just making a name up, but there are Steves. I didn't mean Steve. Steve's my go-to. Geraldine. Has there ever been a Geraldine?
No.
Random name.
Got it.
Geraldine's so great at speaking, but she goes home third. So why do we need her? Let's build up the guy who doesn't give us a lot of good stuff, but comes second. And then we build a journey. So that's my TV brain's like, I think they should help each other.
There's 24 people playing, and it's a 7:30 time slot. So do you really care about everyone? No, like, you just want to know who to care about. You might miss a few episodes. Like, you want to be able to catch up, and
there's a lot of rehashing things that have already happened.
Yeah.
Which I would love to. That's my dream of being on Survivor. That's my checklist, is to get to be someone who goes like, last night at Tribal Council was huge.
Well,
this happened, and then that happened.
And so maybe the recipe for that is to be in there for a significant amount of time, and to do it well. Like, you clearly speak well. I think you'll have that on your side.
I'm going to be playing that down. I'm going to pretend to be a deaf mute on that island.
No, that won't matter. People in the camp won't care.
If I speak well?
No, that won't matter to them.
So
They're not.
James in particular.
Oh, here we go.
Spent some time with them.
Yeah.
What are you thinking strengths, weaknesses?
In application?
Oh,
Or in playing
okay,
or
application
applying?
and playing.
I kind of feel like it's two different things.
Okay, application.
Okay, so...
And we'll cut this bit. If one of the things is don't seem like you've thought about it.
Okay, so like applying, you're playing a game against the producers to apply. You're not playing against the players.
Fuck, that's a funny way to think about it.
Well, you've got to get on.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there's no
but
point.
it is.
Like,
Yeah, they've got to
doesn't-
pick you. You've got to win them over.
And people always say to me, they're like, oh, like, I'm in my audition, like, they've densely edited it to be like an episode of Survivor, and like, they're not trying to hire an editor, or they're just hiring a player. So like, you don't need to edit the tape, just speak to the camera. And I think they want someone who can tell a story in a really engaging way, in a way that you'd like to watch on TV. Like, if you can explain what's going on, and you've got like intonation, and like you're interesting.
I'm a poor, humble, suburban father of 3. We've got no money. We're moving into a caravan. I love Survivor, and I can't wait to get on there and save my family from desperate poverty.
Like, people
Help
tune
me,
in to
help me.
listen to you talk in a podcast.
Okay.
You'd assume that they'd then tune in to watch you on TV. So I feel like you have that on your side. Like, that's
I've
a good
been
thing.
kicked out of a lot of commercial radio jobs.
Why though?
Oh, actually, just arguments with producers. One big commercial radio job. Listen, that's not important.
I was gonna say, like, is that a bad thing for this? Like, you're controversial. Like,
I could be
that's not
controversial.
bad.
I could
Like-
ratchet that up.
Give that a go.
Controversiality?
Yeah.
I'll look into it. Well, Benjamin Law seems controversial in real life.
Yeah,
sometimes, but then on the show
They want controversy. They put Paige and Rogue on the same tribe for
They were having
controversy.
some fun with that.
Like, they want that. Like, and if you can position yourself as someone that they might be able to find someone contrary to that.
Yeah.
If you're like, oh, I really don't like X, Y, and Z kind of people, they'll be like, oh, I could find an X, Y, and Z person and put them on the tribe.
Hold
for you.
on. That's interesting to know, because I applied once, and I applied we had like a newborn, and I didn't apply very well. I think it was blood versus water in the end. But like, some of the questions are things like, are you a religious person? Do you have strongly held convictions? Is it better to ratchet that up or play that down? Like, do you want to be a bigger...
I think that they're also looking for consistency, that you are who you say you are, and when they see it written, and then they see a video, then they do a Skype, that it all lines up, that you are who you say you are, and you know yourself well, and that you can express that. I think that they don't really care too much about, like, I don't want someone who's into religion or not. Like, they don't care.
Yeah,
they just want variety.
This self-knowledge thing is hard, because
to know
you
yourself
have to...
well.
Well, I find it maybe... Yeah, I mean, it's the work of a lifetime, right? To like really... You can have a working knowledge of yourself.
But also you don't... Okay, Simon. I would say maybe not super great with self-awareness, also makes great TV.
Yes.
You know, like you also, if someone's not self-aware, they're the kind of person who should not go on TV, but will.
Yeah.
And it's good TV.
No, because self-consciousness is bad. That robotic, not wanting to come across a certain way.
Yeah, if you're not willing to share who you are, then that's not going to be fun for people to watch. But that's not, doesn't seem to be an issue.
No, I think that'll be... Okay, so say I get on the show.
Yeah. Did you put a video in last time?
Yeah, but I was just like running around my attic and... Sorry?
It was, we had a newborn and you may have looked like mentally.
I think I looked crazy.
Wait, what were you doing in the video?
Uh,
Close to camera, very wide eyes, big boobs.
I hadn't slept in several days.
Okay.
And I think I was saying things like, get me away from my family.
Okay.
I'm going insane. Put me on an island for a month.
But
I
that's
need to
good,
sleep
though.
through the night.
I can see where that would be coming from. Like,
Not 100% what I need to convey. Maybe,
Yeah.
as it turned out.
Are
Yeah.
there any other things that we should discuss before James goes inspired?
yeah, like if you were to send a letter or something, if there was a gift that was allowed to be sent or a letter, or you were to go out there, like you'd want to strategize around what you say and do in those moments. Like,
What's good, what's bad?
yeah, like, so there was a guy, well, I ruined the season for you. Sometimes when you watch some American seasons, if you haven't seen them, do you already know who's won?
I don't know anyone who wins at the moment, but there are enough that
On
if you ruin it for
previous
me, that's
yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah, there are lots. There is a guy who his wife was pregnant and he didn't want his tribe mates to know that because he thought that could get used against him because which I think was very smart of him. So she came out at one point, maybe when there's 8 people left, and he sees her. You're the audience and you know that she's pregnant and he's not telling anyone. Imagine not talking about that when you're out there, you're sitting there for hours and days and weeks and he's thinking about it all the time and other people talk about their family and he can't talk about it because he doesn't want it to be threatening. And so he doesn't say anything. He sees her, he hugs her, he whispers and asks, how is the baby? And she says something like, great, it's a boy or it's a girl, I can't remember. And like, oh, you're an audience and you're just so in on this. And he cries his eyes out and doesn't say anything. He makes it to the end, and at the very end, he's a strong, big fella. At the end, he breaks down in his jury, like facing the jury, and tells them, she's pregnant. And this whole time I couldn't tell you. And I wanted to tell you and I wanted to bond about it, but I couldn't because I knew that if you knew, you wouldn't want to let me get to this point. But now it's ammunition to win because it's like I was so strong that I didn't tell you that the whole time.
Does he-
my
does
God,
he
this
win?
happens in another one too.
Does he win?
He wins, yeah.
Great.
Sorry, it's so good. Oh,
James, no.
What? I know, I won't keep the kids a secret. Well, the big one is Luke in the Australian Survivor, where people find out he has disabled children.
if they didn't know that,
Yeah.
Does he
Great
get to the
reveal at the
end?
end. Hard to say.
Maybe.
Hard to say, but
You don't know.
he
He's
gets-
also very
They
charismatic.
definitely do get rid of him because he has disabled children. Man, it's a hard sentence to say into a
it is-
microphone.
and it's not. And it's also very hard for the person whose decision it was
Yeah.
to make that choice. And the person who had to choose to do that, they all had to choose to vote him out. And that's really hard for them to do. They don't want to do that. But it's a social game. So your social capital that helps you win. But that's also why didn't want to sit next to Flick at the end of our season. You know, it's tough.
So the social game is not on TV as much.
It's really, that's hard to translate to TV.
Yeah. So who else do you play with who you went, they had a much better game than they
Socially?
looked like they had on television? In any respect where you
I
went...
think Flick is always the best example of this for me because her voting record is never amazing. You know, like
Yeah.
her, if you look at her, the way it's never always like the person who goes home. She often votes for the one wrong.
Yeah.
But I think every season I play with her, if she gets to the end, she'll win. She's just so I love her. I think she's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
it's tricky, but it's and
Well, and then she gets in with... it's such a good bit where she talks her way in with Liz and Shani on this season.
and that
then
shows how good she is. And they
turns
were
on
about to
them.
use an idol to save her, and she would have run back to the other tribe as soon as she was with
Yeah.
them. Like,
Did you... That really good tribal where they're like, they didn't say anything that was coming up. They just said, this is the best tribal ever. Were you aware at the time that something weird had happened that night?
Yep. The next day we went to a challenge and they looked broken. Like, they all looked really broken. And, you know, the host, jail people asked, like, you know, do you want to talk about it? And they kind of, I think it is shown that they normally what happens when another tribe comes back is they don't want to give anything away about where the voting lines are.
Yeah.
Because that's their information that they can use at a swap. And so they're all just like, it was unanimous. They always say it was unanimous. We all just voted someone out unanimously so no one knows. And it might not have been every time. But this time they were like, Simon was throwing shit at George and he was throwing it back at Simon, and they weren't like, and Geordie was saying it was horrendous. Like, it just, we could tell something bad had happened.
Yeah. Did you know the specifics before, like, until it came out on telly? Did someone say?
Before it came on telly, I knew. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all
You
tell
all
each other everything.
Chat. We went over to Kieran's girlfriend's boyfriend, you know, like all this. Anyway, with it, Kieran's girlfriend watched Survivor for the first time. And
on that episode?
Okay. And it was very weird to watch someone get sucked in to the show on that, because first she's watching it and going, all right, it's people strategizing. And then it's like, who is this insane? And then she sees George for the first time and he's like, it's just on the beach alone going, it's death or glory. And she goes, who's this man? Is he an actor? Have they put an actor on the show? And then, man, I think we were all sweaty by the end of it. It's the best. You have just been in, I think, the best season of television that's ever been made in this country.
I know. And yeah, it's so good. And a lot of that is thanks to George and his commitment to the show, I think. It's everyone in the season that makes it really good.
Yeah.
It's the editing. It's so much about it that makes it really good.
When you're gunning for him and the first wave doesn't work and the second one, you get what you want, but it's not enough to keep it going. And then...
It's kind of a perfect mix of players, though, because you've got people who...
Simon is like a perfect comic foil for the post-merge. It's heartbreaking.
Isn't he amazing? It's so... I love Simon. I think... All Stars, Season 5, Australian Survivor, they bring players back who've played before, right? But those players have learnt that actually the way to win is create alliance that's strong and don't do anything. And it's super boring to watch. I think that second half of that season is not that interesting to watch because it's just a big alliance that, like, maybe they'll break. No, they don't break. They just hold.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you bring back returning players, it's not that interesting. But I think that this worked really well because you had I didn't really care because I had won already.
Okay.
So I don't feel like I'm here to let's make some good TV. Let's do the best you can. George is super motivated to be interesting in the game, to try to win, but not at all costs. Not at the cost of not making great TV.
This is but also that they're setting it up like he's gone soft on the last vote, right? Like his love of Jerry means it's wrong. Like he can't do the strategic thing. And so even then you get a beautiful, more general. No, don't you say anything. All right. More.
Oh, that place was for more that wasn't what I meant. I just haven't watched the episode. I heard what's in it.
Liz is on the beach going can I move this up? I don't know what I want to. It's not necessary to do it now. She's there going George, you know what you have to do. and he, which is also a great pivot from him going to her earlier on, pull your head in. We have to get rid of Shawnee so that I can go forward.
They're doing good.
It is, but I haven't seen.
What's your prediction? When will this go up?
Well, we'll do some version of this
before
as soon as we can.
Okay,
I think.
so you can give me a prediction.
But I looked on Sportsbet.
Oh, don't do that.
I know.
Okay.
So I have some idea of who probably is but even then on Sportsbet they can only know the top two because they don't pull the votes out ahead of time. But even then, I don't see.
Oh, it's such a good...
It's all right, George is not going to win the challenge at the end. If George gets to the challenge at the end, he doesn't win it.
Why not?
Because physically, he doesn't win a lot of endurance challenges. I'm not saying he won't, but if I had George's body and game, I'd be going, I want my best bet to get through is to have a chance of winning the physical challenge at the end because I've played really, really well and I think I could win. So at that point, you want to go, I think I can maybe beat Jerry in something. I can maybe beat Nina in something. And those are the two people that I want to be with at the last three. Even though only Jerry is not going to bring Nina through. I think Jerry will probably bring me through with him, which is great. But whether Liz might be a good enough player not to bring me through to the end. Matt is not going to want to sit with me at the end. Although we're getting Matt going to camera, going like, I'm not his pawn. I will find a chance to stand on my own 2 feet. And it's like, it's this beautiful young man crying on a beach, also crying, going, I have an identity. And it's whoever's editing this season, I want to.
God,
they're getting the best on ground, personally.
They smashed it.
So I think it's like whoever wins that. But then Sherry has a great story at the end for his fan that it's been hinted at. But it sounds like he's got a ripper story. And also they haven't shown if it's a final 2 or a final 3. When do you find out if it's going to be final 2 or final 3?
As a player?
Yeah.
At the end.
So just at some point, JLP goes, it's 3.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you plan for that? You just get surprised when it's the end?
Well, you're trying to count, my understanding is they need 24 episodes.
Okay.
So I assume that means 24 tribal councils. And so you're trying to count it out. And, if my understanding is that the season sits by itself. Should nothing bad happen and 24 players can play, they need 2 non-eliminations, and then that's a full season, and there should be a final 2.
Yeah.
But if something happens, they might need another non-elimination. So if Jackie goes off on an injury, maybe they need another non-elimination so that it can be a final 2. So you're trying to count the end. You know how many days.
So they can't keep you there past a certain number of days.
You're told how many days there are in the game. So you're counting towards the end, being like, all right, so it looks like this will be a 2 or a 3.
I heard about your spreadsheets.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And also, did you end up getting you made your own box of puzzles at the end?
I made, I would watch shows like this previous seasons and pause when they had a puzzle, screenshot, print, laminate, cut.
I love it.
Yeah, but also before you play, there is a period of time where you're locked down. So like before I went out there, I had a 10-day period in Queensland. This was season 6, where we weren't in the game yet or even near it.
Are you with each other?
No, you're definitely not with each other. You're like hidden away from each other. You can't meet each other. Like,
in different parts of Queensland?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, I was in Cairns. Other people were in Townsville.
Cairns is great. I love Cairns.
Is good.
But do you know that you're playing for sure at that point? Because what's this alternate thing? I heard you say that there was an alternate thing.
Yeah, this is what America does this. So
Okay.
America has a couple of alternates. So they'll take 18 players. 18? Yeah. They have 18? I think
Let's say it's 18.
Yeah, gosh, yeah, I think they have 18. 18 players go out there, and then they have 2 extra alternates. So 20 players might do the prep phase.
And you don't know who you are yet. Like, they don't go,
I
you're
think you
an
know at
alternate.
that point you're an alternate or
Okay.
not. And if someone has to go out sick before they can actually start, then you can go in.
That would be so sad to have that sprung on you, right?
To be I don't think you'd be sprung. I think you'd be like, you're out,
Okay.
you're going out as an alternate, and if something happens, then you can go into the game.
All right.
But I just wasn't sure if they were doing that or not. In Australia, they don't do it. They don't do it. So if you're going out, you're going out.
Okay. What if I'm to watch it, right? I think I can play a relatively good social game. When I was on jury duty, I got those people to...
Jury duty, that's cool.
Loved it. I
Nice.
can definitely talk about the trial off camera. It was
cool.
ages ago. But it's like, I think that the first couple of days of just not saying anything particularly egregious, which seems to be, unless there's like a mix-up and a chat. So like...
You'd be fine.
Okay. So
You
first couple of days,
get
maybe
through
we
the
get
start.
through.
Just be useful and not annoying.
All right, we'll keep a note. And then contribute physically through those early challenges as best you
Don't
can.
Don't
be a liability.
Don't be a liability.
Don't let anyone know if you get injured, necessarily.
Yeah, I guess. But
Jerry's foot was a big thing this year. Everyone
Jerry probably would have been a target regardless of the foot.
Okay.
Well, like, the oldest dude is often, like,
Yeah.
a target. It's hard. Like, you kind of want to be roughly around the same age as the people out there so that you can, in all of the downtime, bond over stuff. Like, oh, I've got a baby. Oh, you've got a baby. Oh, I've got a baby. Oh, you're doing stuff in the backyard. Like, I don't know. Whatever you bond over. Just start, like, the AFL, if you play AFL or you love AFL players, whatever.
I've spent a lot of time in pubs as a stand-up comedian trying to bond on those easy...
You'd be fine.
I got to tell you, the having a child thing is a key to a door for huge numbers of people.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
I'm sure it is. I this season that we just did, there were two parents out there.
Oh.
It was very strange that there wasn't many.
Yeah.
But plenty of hopeful parents, so you can always talk to them.
Nah,
It's not the same.
it doesn't work.
No, but whatever, as long as you can get the bond.
There's
Won't be
weird-
an issue.
There are like certain jokes where like there's a joke about Madeline McCann I do, and about how it's okay that they killed their kids. And like parents love it. Parents are like, yeah, I've had terrible thoughts about killing my children. And people without kids are like, how could you
Yeah,
ever?
okay, I'm that one, yeah.
So it's a weird, no, it's like, it's a hard one. So we get through that stage. Like tactically, I like it. I know there are I know where I go bad tactically, which is like I get weird fuzzy thinking. I struggle to, when I play chess and I'm in a high stress, I love chess. I'm a big chess on the phone guy. Do you play chess?
I can play, but I don't
All
play
right.
much.
Thick chess daddy 69.
Thick chest.
Thick chess daddy.
Oh,
Sorry.
thick chest daddy.
No,
Nice.
thick chest daddy 69.
Nice.
And I like, but
69.
I'm like 80% worse when I'm under big stress.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
But I think I can talk my way through it. And then also very grouchy when hungry.
Well, that's
But I can start to teach my body not to have it. But you said when you were watching it that you look for people who are like you.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And you watch their season and you go, I'm going to do what they do. I'm going to be aware of the things that they did badly.
Yeah, I should get those spreadsheets up.
If I could have the spreadsheet, that'd be great. But
Yeah.
having met me and spoken to me now for some time, whose season do I have to watch?
Oh, gosh. And who are you like?
You have time to reflect. I should have asked you that earlier and come back to it at the end.
Let's think about the season that's on right now.
Okay.
Who do you think you're most like on that season? So I wouldn't think that you're most like Simon. You don't seem to be like Simon.
No.
No.
I like Simon.
Yeah.
But I don't see.
You're not similar.
No.
No. Who were you? I think I'm starting to think this is an interesting thing. Like, what were you like at school? Like, what group at school, at high school,
Yeah.
were you
I was
probably
thinking about
hanging
that
out
today.
with?
Unpopular early on,
Yep.
and then like a nerd. I was a debater,
Yep.
and so I had a tight knit group of debating friends for like middle school, and then just something weird happened. I was like unpopular all the way through school, like not hugely unpopular, but could never have been described as popular. And then like the last 2 years, I was in like a school play in year 10 where I was funny for the school play, and then something turned around and it's like no one really knew who I was, but I had some weird energy, and I got voted for a prefect, and
Yeah.
I was like there was some girl attention, and it's
Okay,
like
yeah.
something pivoted,
Okay.
and there was like a mystique. I don't want
I think
to
that this is
sound like
such a
an
good.
idiot.
That's such a good framework for playing this game. I think because, I think that you want to be the kind of person who can get along with all kinds of people, right? You want to. But that includes the kids who are like popular at school, like because they might have the power. If there's enough of them there, they could be the power.
Yes.
And if you don't merge into that, then you're in trouble. You have to be able to like be with that.
I've since gotten better at that.
Yeah, I think, it's important, I think, just in case that is the power. Like, certainly the Heroes tribe, that was the power, I
Yeah.
felt, was the kids who were the cool kids at school. It was actually the same in season 6. It was the same.
You used to call them, in a podcast I heard, like kids up the back of the bus.
Yeah.
They were, you called them the cool kids.
That was my experience of, like, where I grew up, I would catch a bus to school, and there was the kids at the back of the bus who were the cool ones, and, like, not always, like, the nice ones or anything, but then there were, like, the ones who would sit at the front and not go up there.
Yeah.
And I think that if you can go up there, that's great, but ultimately you have to still be able to understand and have empathy for the other people, because they're the ones who will probably be the most useful for you in the game.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to just like play with the cool kids the whole time.
No, it'd be.
It's boring and it's annoying you, and you kind of the audience wants you
It's
to
all
overthrow
stars.
them.
I'm here to make big moves.
Yeah, but so you need the connections that come from like the conversations you have with the other people, but you have to fit with the group. Like, I don't know. So it sounds like that you're enough of a chameleon in your experiences that would work.
I should let other people answer that for me, because I'm not.
It's hard. I think other people telling you what you're like is good. Nick
Yeah.
Idanza, who lives here in Adelaide, and he's played twice, he said that before he
I
went
didn't
back...
know he was in Adelaide, because AK is here as well.
Yep.
All right.
AK, I'm like...
AK said he would come on the podcast as well.
AK's a fucking legend. They're all legends. AK's, I'm getting married next weekend, and AK is my photographer.
Oh.
How good.
So good. I met him when he was a wedding DJ.
He still is. He's like sliding into photography now.
It's a great double business. We should talk to him about getting you. Anyway.
Yep.
Sorry, so Nick lives here as well.
Nick lives here. AK lives here. Henry.
Yep.
A guy called Matt Tarrant. Fringe.
Yeah, I only know him through the Fringe. I haven't seen his Survivor season.
He's played first season. He's an OG. Someone called Paige is here as well. Not a huge amount of people here, but some, maybe.
Not Paige, not Country Town.
No.
But no.
No.
Man, I was watching her stories. Would you watch her stories while that was going on? She's like, I unfollowed her. I couldn't do it. I could start to do it. It's like, yeah, she is a country girl.
Yeah.
And Rogue is wrong to be saying that. And then she's coming on there going like, all you fucking dogs coming for me. Oh, and I go, oh, it's every day. Every day she drives 80 kilometres to get phone reception and just goes hard on strangers on the internet.
And then pisses off soon as But that's part of what's awesome about the game is that when would you ever meet that person and have them in a room with Ben Law and like with Rogue and like and you just get to sit there and like either you're a part of the drama or you can just watch it like and it's right there like
being exposed of like what you were saying before about I didn't want to be caught having a side chat with them. I also I'm very gregarious and I get wrapped up in, I really enjoy
all the chat. I think that's a better way to play. That's how I played the first time. It was more successful. I think you just have to be brave and have all your conversations and not worry and not assume that people are like being so concerned or what are you saying? Like you just have to do it. You have to be, I think it's more fun to play aggressively. It's not always the most successful.
Sure.
But like ultimately I think, you just got to,
but every game is very different, right? Like, and you've got to realize what game you're in and who you are. That's what I'm starting to pick up.
There's no recipe to win. There really isn't. Like, if you can get in and play, like
that seems like the hardest thing is to get in.
Oh, that is harder. Like, because once you're in, there's a 1 in 24 shot of winning. But like to get in, there's like a 1 in how many thousand chance of getting in? Like, it's harder to get in than to play.
We're gonna work on me getting in, Sam. We're gonna work on me getting in.
Keep that point.
Can I? You've been so generous with your time. I'm so blessed. Please take the shirts for Jimmy if he wants them, and you can have one too.
So when I came out of this season, I get to the jury and I get a phone call to Jimmy.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, how are you? What's happening? Are you okay? It's been 2 months. Like, are you okay by yourself? And he's just like, yeah, wait a minute, let me just grab something. And he goes off and grabs your poetry book and comes back. No, honestly, this is like the first conversation I have with him when I get back. I'm like waiting for him to tell me all about like how work's been, how's family, and he's like, no. I just got let me just read you this poetry. And he reads the one where it's like, I could have been a dancer. Like he loves that one. And he just like, can barely hear him speaking because he's not breathing because he's laughing so much. And I'm like, okay, so you're good. That's great that you're good. All right, that's wonderful. But like that was the first thing, the conversation I had with him when I came out of the game.
It's very touching.
And I'm just like, what is this? What are you reading me? What is this poem?
That's I don't know what to say.
What would I say on the first phone call back from Survivor? What would be a good
What if it doesn't matter? I guess poetry if you like.
Would Jimmy write a poem for James?
If you can get out there and if you get to that 100%, Jimmy will write a poem and you can read that to him.
And what included in the letter? Yeah, have the letter be.
That's all the letter will be. It will just be like.
Yeah, I wanted a message from my wife, but it's
a poem
Hayley's
from Jimmy.
husband has written me a poem. Yeah. That's he was at. I met him at a show. He came to a show with my friend Sam.
Yep.
And that's when we met, and it was. Actually, and he deflected so well that you weren't there, and I now realise that you must have been.
That's when I was away. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
But I'm a big fan.
Would have he? I don't know if he would have known that you liked Survivor. Would he have known that?
I didn't talk about it.
He'd been saying for ages. He'd been like, let's listen to this podcast. And like, I like to be quiet in the car.
I can't tell you how many wives and girlfriends complain that their male counterpart makes them listen to the podcast on drives.
Great. Like,
it's great. But I have a lot of I was at a Christmas party this year, and women just kept coming up to me going like, my fucking husband, mate. We listened to it. We listened to the Christmas special 3 times on the way from Rockhampton. Now, the first 2 was fine, but I didn't want to do it again. Sorry.
That's great.
I didn't know you were a podcast listener. I didn't know he was listening to the podcast.
Well, he is. I have listened to, I
understand.
Yes. And, but for a while, like a couple of weeks, like at least a week, every time we get in the car, he'd be like, can I put this on? I'm like, can we just talk? Like, like really. And then eventually you put it on and then I'm like, hey, yeah, very good. And then it gets to the point where you were talking about like, Survivor and how much you love Survivor. And then like, you're like, I could play one day. And then you're like, I just watched it and I could never play. Like, it's too hard. Like,
what? Man, yeah.
And I was
Because
like,
sometimes you go, well, I can't, I watch it and I go, I can't do, like this interview. I was terrified to do this interview because I'd listened to that interview earlier in the day in the deep dive and I was like, I can't do that interview, right?
No, but don't do that. She does those interviews.
Thank you.
Don't replace that.
That was my breakthrough. Whereas
God, don't do that.
I don't have to. I had to do my
And, like,
show
I
and I get to have Hayley on it and that's so cool.
And I'm very good friends with her and I almost wouldn't want to
She's so
replicate that.
smart.
She's amazing. And she's amazing at this, like knowing this game and analyzing it. And I wouldn't want to take away from her the deep dive, which is like the full analysis of like
every round.
Yeah.
And really, your retention of what had happened out there is huge.
Well, it's because you live and breathe it. And then once you come out, you rehash it on the phone to all the players when everyone is like, what could I have done differently? Because you're going to this existential crisis, like, why didn't I win? And then it airs and everyone else has an opinion on it. So like you replay it a lot.
Can I ask, psychologically, not everyone gets to go to Jury Villa. You didn't get to go to Jury Villa the first time.
I didn't need to.
No, because you'd won. But it just meant you were back in your life, right? After the show.
It meant you didn't decompress very well. Like
that's what I wanted to ask you, because Stevie has to go home the day before Jury Villa. He's still been out there for like 20 days and then he's home. Yeah. How good is Jury Villa for like
It's so
helping?
Good mentally. It's so good. Like that, it's really tough for the players who don't get to do that.
Yeah.
And because they also don't know what happens at the second half of the game, and everyone feels like, and they can't tell anyone how far they went. So all their friends are like, yeah. And so people are like, "What's Shawnee like?" And they're like, "She's great." Like they didn't meet her because they never got to that point.
Yeah.
Like, so that's tough for them. But Jury Villa it's great. It's great because then you leave the game, you're like, I don't care. I'm done. I don't care.
The men all become like, even the big butch boys become very effeminate on their first thing back. Like Sean, huge. The whole home is one that it's beautiful to see. Like just the first time he gets a robe and a clean, and he's the whole way he sits is different. And he's like, it's fabulous out here on the Jury Villa. Yeah. And I'd want to get to that point. I want to be pampered into a new personality.
If you can't win, or if you're not gonna win, like that's another reason you don't want to come second or like third, because you don't really get that other experience. Like that experience of like being in a resort for like a week and eating like 2 breakfasts, 2 lunch, 2 dinners, and and reflecting on the game, but no technology, which is really nice. Like you still don't have a phone.
So they give you the phone call and then they take the phone away?
There's just a phone that you share to make 1 phone call a day. Yeah.
Wow.
For like a limited time. You don't have your phone, which is amazing. It's great not to have technology.
No, that would be really nice.
Yeah.
I can't believe on the Jury Villa episode, there's an edited out bonus section footage somewhere of Jimmy reading my poem. That's not what I thought had happened in between the call, the starting and ending.
I just laughed so hard at it, like out loud, so hard.
That's really, he gets 2 shirts.
Yeah, well, so then that's when when he showed me and he was like, oh yeah, like you like Survivor and like you talk about it on your podcast. I love it. I was like, what a weird crossover that you were also a part of the journey in some way.
It's a very Adelaide experience.
Oh yeah.
Are there any points where you went, is there anyone you went, like, I'm trying to find an in with you and I just can't do it? Like, you seem super affable. Like, you're able to...
You can always find an in with someone.
You can find an in? But then it has to be a strong enough in so that when you need to pull them back in later, you can...
Well, the trouble is you can always find an in, but is it, like, relatively stronger than someone else's? Like, as in, like, can I find an in with Sam? Yeah, we'll have something we can talk about. Is it as strong as the bond he has with Sean? No.
Yeah.
Like, is it as strong as what Sean has with David? Like, both no. That's stronger. I'll find an in, but, like...
But then that was a weird moment when people rebel against that. Like, when Matt chooses to come away onto the tribe that he's been with for a couple of days rather than being with the big meaty boys, even though he's a big, physical dude.
Well, I don't think that at that point that's a social decision. That's probably a who do I think I can beat at the end decision.
Right.
And like, didn't want to sit next to everyone else. And like, he thinks his shots with the other people is better.
They're only showing him being funny now. He's really funny.
Matt.
Yeah.
It's hard because I haven't watched the last 2 episodes.
Okay. They showed like none of early on. They showed none of his personality.
Yeah.
And he's the only one. Like, there are a lot of people who don't. I get that. I'm on that stats page where it's like plus or minus percent, and they're like, George, 156% of like
confessionals.
Yeah. Sorry. And then some people get videos, like a confessional or something.
Yeah.
And then you can usually tell the winner, like on the edit.
But you could ask us when we come out of the game as players, who do you think put in order how many confessionals you think everyone's going to get, and we won't know because it's the editors who decide who gets all that airtime.
There was something AK was saying where he was like, the producers told him, you're giving us great stuff, we can use none of it.
We can use none of it?
Yeah.
Why?
Because the things that he was talking about didn't end up being important in the game.
That's it.
You just don't know at the time.
And like you could, for example, like the Heroes Tribe were doing everything right at the start of the season. We were winning all the challenges. We weren't going to tribal council unless we threw it to get rid of someone we didn't want. Like, that is a good recipe to increase the odds that all of us get far in the game.
Yes.
But you get no airtime because if you lose a reward and then win an immunity challenge, they're not showing you.
You're just having a nice
time.
You're
not at the reward and you're not a big tribal.
This happens when people start throwing your name up later and they go, Hayley, and then someone will go like, oh yeah, I've been thinking about Hayley, we've been talking about Hayley, but they're not showing like the past 5 tribals where something has happened to eventually keep your name out of it. But like clearly people, like they're responding in a way where you go, oh, that must be, there must constantly be a target on Hayley's back that we're not seeing.
Yeah, well, I think there probably was, but they also, they want you to get to the end of the episode and be like, ooh, who's going to go? Like,
man, that Rogue episode, I really thought you were going home.
Oh,
That's a beautifully edited episode.
That's great. I should go back and watch it.
I was like, what's she doing throwing it? But then,
because how much better which I felt at the time, and I think most of the players would tell you that, it was going to be Rogue. Like it wasn't really going to be me. Like that maybe conversation did happen at some point in like prior 12 days.
How far in did you realize it wasn't going to be you? Because it was, if she had said nothing, you're the obvious target there.
Into the days?
Yeah, like hours even. Like what happened when you went, do you remember going, I should be the target? People are talking about me as someone who goes home first and I'm the winner. But now I think
I just knew I'd had enough conversations with people like Flick and Sean to know that, they don't want to go to the end with me and they don't really want to get to that individual challenge part with me, but they definitely don't want me to go at the start because if I go, who's the next biggest threat? Right.
This was weird because George's name, maybe they were just using that to have drama about Rogue going home because when they're discussing it with George and he's in a similar position on his tribe, they're all going, but I want him as a shield. But no one is having the shield conversation on camera. So they are in real life.
Yeah, same as what was happening with George. Shawnee wants George for a shield.
Yep.
Sean, Flick, they want me for a shield. Like we all know there's mutual, and that's also why like the second half of the game, all the new players get voted out, and it's all the old players, the returning players are there because they're all kind of realizing that if they become minorities and it's just new players, then they become big threats. But if we're all surrounded by each other and then we can just take each other out the second half of the game, then it never really gets said out loud that clear, like in that way, but we realize what's happened in the second half of the game is we haven't gone for each other because we knew that this was our best shot at getting to the second half.
And then, but you think you shot too early at George? You think you should have waited and done that later? You expressed,
I think that, I'm happy with how it went. I think that my road to the end was going to be pretty treacherous regardless. But because I got so close, I'll think back and say, well, if I just did this differently, maybe that would happen. But then I don't know what the next step. Like, I assume I know, but I don't know.
That thing with the idols is a insane curveball.
Also, but if that came off, it might not have been that good for me long term.
Do you really think you would have been the next person?
No, well, I could have been.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can't know.
I just think that it would have. With George out, it becomes more like what could happen, who then takes the reins, but with him in, it's him in charge the whole time. And you see
that makes everyone feel safe and secure. And also someone is always willing to go, it seems like at most tribals, someone's willing to go, and this is my shot, and then they're gone. Like, you don't want to put yourself, you don't want to, because we were thinking about like, at tribal, almost nothing works. Like, is there something, say you're in there with like 6 people left, and you're all sort of aware that you don't want to go to the end with George because of his tactical game and how the jury feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
Say you win immunity that week and you've been tight with George. Can you come out of that tribal and just like break the line and go, by the way, everybody, tonight, I haven't discussed this with any of you before the tribal, tonight I'm voting for George. I'm not going home, but it's a good chance for everyone to jump in there with me. Or like...
You can, yeah. It'd be a scary thing to do against George himself, though, because he is very good at tribal and he is really good at somehow having this conversation where you then, like, unless you're very confident you can do that well, it's not how I would play.
No.
But for myself, knowing myself, it might work well for you.
Well, I'm just struck by it would be great telly.
And
I know that that's something I have to...
No, that's...
to think about internally. What's worth, like, having a cool moment where you go, that was a great effort, and, like, pragmatically...
Well, the first time I played, my mentality was 23 people are going to lose. I'm probably going to lose. Like,
yeah.
I'll try, but I'm probably going to lose. What of these two things is a worse outcome for me? Besides winning, great. But, like, if I get really far, but I don't do anything because I'm scared and I don't want to make big TV moments and I don't want to, like, make big moves because I might, and then I get voted out.
Yeah.
Or I try to make moves and I get voted out. And I knew that I would hate to do nothing and get voted out.
So you just did cool shit.
Because
that thing with the public idol where you don't play it.
Fuck it.
That's
like,
so cool.
Yeah, why not? Like, I'm probably not going to win anyway. But, like, and from my experience of watching people play this game now, people are often more upset for getting no edit at all than they are for getting, like, maybe a slightly bad edit.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, people that you go out there, you leave your family, you spend all that time,
and then it's like I was disappeared.
Yeah, you sit with your family to watch it, and then you're not even shown, and that sucks. Like, that's, if that, you know, you think you're going out, you want to see your experience. Like, so therefore, when you're sitting there at Tribal and you're trying to decide, do I blow up right now? Because it would be really fun, and I'll never get this chance again.
I think only
I
if
think
it,
you just do
if
it.
it worked. I mean, I'd like to do. I think, like, yeah, you think of things that would be entertaining and fun, and then try and work back. Is there ever a pragmatic situation where you could do that and it would be the right thing to do? Like, I think of when you say, I'm flipping a coin with this idol. It's really cool, and it's the right thing to do in that moment. And, like, some of that is stockpiling moves that could be moves.
Yeah, well, that certainly was just, that didn't come really from thinking this is going to be a cool move. That was like,
I got to do something.
Like, what else am I going to do? Like, we need to get a majority. We don't have one. And I remember thinking, I don't want to make a big deal of this because, like, I don't want to be like, guess what, everybody, I'm flipping a coin or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I was trying not to talk about it unless I had to talk about it at the time I had to talk about it. But that will still cut, like, I remember finishing that season and thinking, that's going to be a big deal in that episode. Like, I think that's going to... But no one else thought that. Like, there wasn't other players being like, oh, yeah, when you do that, that's going to be, like, a big part of the episode.
That's the whole jeopardy of the episode,
yeah,
though,
but,
right?
like, everyone is their own main character, and they're not remembering that as a big deal because you're not... I don't know, you're not grandstanding it. I don't know.
Well, another one was, like, how could you wear... Like, if people don't know you had... Would it ever be appropriate if you had a secret idol to put it on and show people beforehand?
Yeah.
Like, before you go into... Like, and it's like, how could you make that work? Would it be... Because it would make people scramble immediately. And, like, if you wanted to break up an alliance, that could be a good thing to do.
George has done this. This is a great thing to do. Yeah. If all the votes are on you and everyone's not making another plan, you can just put your idol in and be like, well, it's not me, so you better make another plan.
And then you can still play it for yourself, but maybe you've broken up the...
Or maybe you don't play it because they've already got another plan and they've already put the votes there and you don't know, like, or they're going to bluff you. If they don't have enough numbers to split to put the votes on you just in case you don't play it, then...
So it can be worth it.
Oh, yeah. There's so much good drama you can do. It's just such a good format. The game is so good.
Is that baby all right? How long has this gone for?
2 or 8.
Oh, shit. I got to get home to my other kids.
You have more children, right?
Yeah, we've got 3 kids.
Where are the other ones?
With my dad watching ABC Kids.
I think the kids shows are great now because I just
All right.
it has TV finished that season.
We spoke about judging risk, talking to your hand in the rope challenge, why it's important to teach young people about pain, and the nature of your work. I think we got through it. Thank you this will not be a 2-hour thing.
I feel bad for anyone listening to this 2 hours.
I'm so honoured and so blessed, and I'm really, we're all big fans, and this is very, very exciting.
Oh, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything that they wanted to ask?
Something I want to say, and that was, I picked you for the first season.
I thought you were going to say this season. I'm like, sorry. Oh, that's cool. Oh,
First episode I watched.
you're like, that's the one. Who have you picked for this season? Are they still in?
I'm furious.
Oh, great. This gave me too.
But I'm fascinated that you stopped watching. And you're like,
I had just had
you've got a lot on?
I've got.
Oh, because you're getting married next week?
Well, yeah, that, but also like I had this like big grant that I put in yesterday, so that's done
Okay.
now, thank God. But I couldn't do both. Like I think
Yeah.
You try
I
to.
can't believe you've come here the week of your wedding. That's so...
Oh, it's next week though. Like,
Is it next
Jimmy's
week?
organised it. I'm just gonna rock up.
Okay.